Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our brilliant bard. Say hi, brilliant bard.
Hello, brilliant bard.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for joining me. A real-life bard on the show. So exciting. I know you don't love playing bards, but since you are like an actual one, it feels appropriate.
I've had a lot of people reach out and remind me that playing a bard does not mean that you play guitar at all times. So yes, my mind has been opened up to the world of bards, but I played a druid for my very first character, so going from druid spells to bard spells is a little tough.
Yeah, that's fair. So obviously you're here because like lots of reasons, but before we get into like Teenage Rebellion, because it's great and all, Bitter Bitches, I'm absolutely obsessed with it.
Thank you.
I mentioned before we started recording, I have a 2-year-old, so I don't get to listen to it very often.
Naturally.
He would really enjoy the rhythm of it, I think. But he repeats everything he hears.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold off on that, and like Fantasy High and stuff till a little bit later.
Exactly. That feels right.
Yeah. It's such a fun song. Because it feels that the lyrics and the music feel so antagonistic in like the best way. Like it's very like fun and poppy and just like I hate you so much energy. I adore it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that one happened like absolutely by accident. I was like trying to write a different song and it was not working on guitar. So I was like, maybe it's the instrument. It can't be me, so it's got to be the instrument. So I was like, oh, I'll try ukulele. Didn't end up writing that song, but as I was playing, I was just kind of like playing chords and then was recording and just kind of like said the first like 3 lines. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Fully meant for it to be like, oh, this will be like a fun little interlude. And then I played it for my team and they were like, this is actually like really funny. We should put this out because this is like great. And I love making songs. Really everything that I do, I love having stuff that has dichotomy between things. So if it's like a song that feels really upbeat and happy, having the lyrics be either sad or dark, I always really enjoy, or the opposite, and having something sound really sad but the lyrics are actually really sweet. I love playing with that kind of stuff. So the second that one came out, I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is a great way to bring those two things together. So
it was I am fully 40 years old, so I will admit that I was introduced to you because of Dimension 20.
That's the fantastic way.
Look, my Spotify Wrapped is Big Dad energy, and so like nothing post like 1985 on it, so I got to start like before Teenage Rebellion had even come out, I started like listening to some of your other songs to just like see what the vibe was, and immaculate vibes all the way down.
Hey, thanks.
I get why they wanted you.
Hey, we try,
Yeah. Do you want to tell the story again? I've heard you tell it 50 times. I don't know if it's tiring to you.
It's up to you. I will absolutely tell it again if you want me to.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing it. It's like so fun.
Honestly, it's such a serendipitous thing. It still feels like I'm not really a manifestation person, but like it's definitely one of those things that feels like it was meant to be. A friend of mine is a producer and we had done a few sessions together and he was kind of talking about how he wanted to try playing D&D but never really found a group and didn't really know where to start. And so I was like, oh, like I watched the show Fantasy High. It's what got me into D&D and also was like a huge proponent as to like by the time I found a group, I at least at the very basis like understood how the game was played. Like I picked playing a druid from watching Erika Ishii like playing a druid in the 7. And so like watching people play different classes and different races and understanding mechanics, it was really helpful for me once I kind of jumped in. So it's like, oh, you should start watching that. And then like I'll see if I can bring you into my D&D group because we actually need somebody. And so he called me and he was like, hey, you want to meet for coffee and help me make my character for the campaign? And I was like, yeah, sure. We met for coffee. We were talking about Fantasy High and just like building his like perfect character. And I was like, okay, great. We spent like 2 hours doing it. I got in the car And I'm not even kidding, like 5 minutes after we talked about it, I got a DM from D20. And they were like, if we potentially asked you to write a theme song for a potential new season, which in my heart of hearts, I was like, I know that this is Fantasy High. I know it. And if it's not, I will do it. But also, it's got to be. They were like, would you do it? And I was like, let me just be super cool about it. Absolutely, yes, like 1000%. And then I called my mom, and then I texted my friend. I was like, you have to produce this. This feels so like serendipitous. And so once we kind of started putting it all together, and I wrote the song here, I brought it to him and his friend Matt produced it. And we got to kind of make it together, which I think is really cool, and put it out. And now it's out, and we still play D&D together every week. But it was definitely like such a crazy, serendipitous, like, I still cannot believe that it happened. And it still feels very weird to like, I literally watched the new episode this past week, and like hearing the intro, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. That's crazy. So it's still a really, really weird thing for me, but definitely one of the coolest things I've ever done for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. I would say like I don't skip. I'm not a skip intro kind of guy usually, and then like Dropout doesn't have the option anyway. Yeah. But there is no universe in which I would ever skip that intro. Like it's so delightful. Yeah, Erica's druid is so good in the 7. I'm playing in I don't know if you've listened to the Adventure Zone at all, but they did it's the McElroys. They did an arc where they were doing like basically like kind of Mario Kart tank racing. And so tomorrow night I'm playing in like this charity stream where we're playing that, and so I have 2 other teammates, and we were building our characters together. One of them was like, I'm going to play a druid, and we get to be like 8th level, I think. And so I was like, okay, how did Erica get so many raptor statted geese? Let's figure that out, because that would be very fun.
That will be super helpful for us.
Yeah, so I had to figure out like which raptor it was, because there are of course a couple of them.
So many.
And finally, I was like, I got it. Here's like the quarter challenge raptor that gets advantage on attacks and has 2 attacks for no reason. And I was
absolutely incredible.
I was like, no, you're just gonna launch that into like someone else's car.
Watching her play. I originally, like, I feel like everyone in D&D, when they're like, oh, I want to play a very first character, I feel like everyone I've talked to is like, yeah, like a rogue, that's cool. Everybody wants to sneaky sneak and stabby stab. And so that was absolutely my MO, was I was like, oh, I'm going to play my first campaign, I'm going to play a like sneaky guy. And then I watched her play a druid, and I like distinctly remember being like, okay, whatever, nature, who cares? And then watching her do speak with plants to show the footsteps in the ground of where somebody was last, I was like, I distinctly remember that part being like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. What the fuck? And I immediately was like, yeah, I'm absolutely playing a druid. And I ended up using something similar where I like communed with a tree to like show me a path of where somebody went. And I was like, yeah, sick. I've made it. Yeah. This is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Erica is at that level. Like there's like the polar extremes of like someone who's never played before and someone who knows everything about the game.
Yes.
And they both do the same basic thing, which is wild, which is where I don't really know, or in the like new player is, I don't know how a spell works. So let me ask if I can make it work in a wild way. And then the person who knows everything is like, I think this could be how the spell worked. Like I think I could use a gust cantrip to put out a candle golem, like something that like middle of the road player never thinks of, but like brand new, super experienced. And so it's
the perfect combination of things.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. So the DM, obviously, like it came from the D20 account. It was there's still part of you that was like, this is a prank. I don't know how someone got the D20 accounts like DMs, but
I have been in contact with D20 for a while. I've been following for a while, and also I'm just like all up in their comments, which is probably not normal for a verified account to be like, oh my god, hi, I love you. But like I love D20, so I was like, yeah, that's me. So I had kind of like, I had like posted things and they had responded. And I think they sent me for Never After, they ended up sending me a mug, um, the
Nice.
little orange mug with
Hmm.
the characters on it. And so I was like promoting that. Not that they asked me to, but why wouldn't I? So we had kind of like chatted before. So them popping up into my DM wasn't like weird for me, but it was definitely like they had never popped up and been like, "Hi, do you want to do a thing?" And I was like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, what? It was weirder doing that and then getting on like a Zoom call with like Brennan and like Carlos. Like that was weird. That was weird.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
crazy part. I think less
Yeah.
the DM.
That's fair. Yeah, and Andrew Bridgman sending you a DM probably is not as weird as like, oh, I see Brennan's face and he can talk
Yeah,
back to me instead of the
exactly.
normal way where he is talking to the players at his table and I'm just yelling at the TV.
Exactly. I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's super fun. Yeah, I talked to Kate May about how like this season feels very like season of the fan, not just because like it's junior year, so like it's what people have been clamoring for years,
Yeah.
but also like with Kate doing the art, starting as like literally like drawing fan art, and then D20 reaching out and being like, hey, you want to do the official art, and like you starting as a fan and them reaching out to be like, hey, you want to write like a theme song for us, like it feels very special and very like such a part of the community.
Yeah, I think the thing that really the thing that D20 and honestly Dropout as a whole does better really than anyone else is they're so collaborative with their community. And I think the beautiful thing about the community is there is so much untapped, unbridled talent within the fan base that it's like even when we released Teenage Rebellion, the videos that people were making and the cosplays and the artwork, like I'm sitting here like, what the hell? Like, this is crazy. How has everybody got a thing? Like, how is everybody so talented? It's absolutely insane. And the artwork that Kate did is absolutely insane. The moms are incredible, exquisite. Twitter is absolutely eating it up. But it was so cool to see, like, you know, to do junior year in a way that feels super collaborative with the community because it's been around, and also starting from so early on where, you know, freshman year was really kind of a shot in the dark for D20. And then second year was on live streaming I think during COVID or towards the end of it.
It ended during they had the final episode is over Zoom.
Yes, exactly. So it's really cool to kind of have it come back all these years and have so many fans involved, and I feel like you can really feel that in the way that it looks and sounds and feels. Is just it feels like everyone's kind of coming back, and even the way that I'm like watching the players play, like they seem just so much more comfortable, and I feel like I'm watching like someone's home game, which I think is really nice to see. But yeah, it's just like it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. They crushed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have described it as like the shenanigans of sophomore year, but with the skill level of Starstruck Odyssey. Like they read the books, they're ready to go, but like they're still jumping on tables. Like
we can't get away from it. We can't get away from it. Tables, cars, everything.
Yeah.
If there's something to jump on, we're jumping on it.
The DC-5 Box of Doom roll is one of my favorite things that's ever happened.
Watching Brennan in his silent kind of like it was like the face a dad makes where he knows that you're about to make a mistake, but he's encouraged to let you continue with it just to see how it goes.
Yeah. You gotta learn. You gotta let them learn from their mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's really cool. Like, I mean, obviously, like so many improvements isn't the right word, but like upgrades from obviously freshman year of like a tiny team of people to I think like 70 people now working on the show, including like because when I talked to Kate, I was talking about like, well, how did you do the art, and like all the projections are her art. She had so she was like there watching like footage like as they were filming, so that she could like draw everything and like keep up with it. And then the projectionists are the ones who like animated it so that the trees move in her art. She's like, I don't know how they did it, but like it's magic. And I was like, it's like an amazing like confluence of things. And I mean, really, I mean, the so cool mean, for you, but like for all of us, of like
Mm.
what really kicks off every episode is like this just like kick-ass anthem of exactly what the show should feel like.
No, I got very lucky that it worked properly in line with the show. I didn't when I wrote the song. I didn't watch any of the episodes or a trailer or anything for Fantasy Hat Junior Year. I was fully writing just off of the Zoom call that I had with Brennan and David and the team, kind of talking about the like core themes of Fantasy High Junior Year. And I literally was just like writing down on a pad of paper things that people said more than once. That's usually how I can understand where an artist is coming from. So that's usually the case. And, you know, a lot of it was just kind of like the feeling of rebellion, the feeling of being kind of uncertain, of like realizing that, you know, people have different wants and different needs. And I think also I was a junior once in my life. I think you kind of hit a point where you're like, oh, like there's like real life is coming, and like real things are like, I can't, like, it's not just pep rallies and like homework that sucks. It's like, oh, I've got to like make decisions soon. And there's like a level of responsibility that starts to seep in. And I think like awareness of emotions too, like you start to learn a little bit about yourself and about your friends, and things kind of start to get a little, you know, tension building. And so I was like, okay, how do I write a song that feels exciting and upbeat? Because I didn't want it to feel like, oh, we're going into this and we're all sad immediately. How do I have it upbeat, but also in a way that feels like there's some tension there? It's like rah teens in the 90s, but like, you know, we don't have this much energy because we're like super happy all the time. We're also stressed out and just kind of like going through it. And I got very lucky that Brennan said teenagers and said rebellion in the call. And so those two things came together and the song was written. So
no, every week it feels more apt of just like angst. Every week is just building upon it.
Absolutely. We fully honored the fig and the sig figs with that one for sure.
So good. Yeah, actually, I'm super curious if there were. I know you said you from the call, but for like writing the music, were any of the PCs specifically inspirations, or is it more just vibes of Fantasy High?
I mean, I am an Emily Axford stan. I absolutely love her. I love the way that she plays characters, and I think I
quite literally have a sticker that says Axford supremacy on it.
I have never watched a D20 episode where, like, if Emily Axford cries, I immediately start weeping. It's like a joke between myself and my partner that, like, she starts crying and he immediately grabs tissues and hands them, and it's like, here, I don't even need to look. I know you're crying. But so I think the angstiness of like what I would think that she would want to have in there, that definitely was playing a part of it. Was I was like, I don't want to write something that feels like it wouldn't be in line with the kind of music that the characters would be playing. I kind of like to have that also be an Easter egg where you can be like, oh yeah, Fig would probably play this or would probably listen to this. I also ended up looking at a lot of fan art online. I was on Pinterest looking at kind of like, I know what these characters look like and feel like to me, but the cool thing about storytelling and art is that even if you describe it in like detail, it's still going to be completely different to somebody else. And so I was on Pinterest a lot looking at fan artwork of the characters and just kind of seeing how tons of different people perceived these personalities. Like Fig, to some people, obviously I feel like Fig is one of those people that everyone kind of feels like they understand, but like looking at the artwork, there's so many different variations of like who Fig is to someone. So I looked at all of that and kind of tried to in my own way have an idea of where I thought the characters would kind of evolve from their like traumas and personalities from season 2. So I definitely thought about the PCs a lot. We used a few different references for music too. Carlos had kind of given the reference on like things like Cherry Bomb, a lot of the music from, I'm literally going to forget the name of this. I literally get, oh, it's going to drive me nuts. I can't remember the name of it. It's a movie. So there's a
Okay.
movie. If people will know Scott Pilgrim. That's it. I've
Okay.
never
Yes.
seen
Yes.
it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it gets recommended all the time. And then I just kind of pulled some like of my own references. I was like, okay, we want it to be kind of like 90s pop rock inspired. Something that still feels upbeat and like jammy. And also something for me that was really important was I wanted there to be repeat stuff in there, like the to taken over. Just because I feel like when writing for like sync, which is technically is, having something taggy like that, I think can be really helpful in making you really attached to it. And that was actually, I think, the first time that I've done that in a song, especially for myself. So I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. So yeah, we had a few different references sonically, and then literally it was just things that were said in the Zoom call and going through the internet and looking at artwork. And I wrote the song the day that we did the Zoom call, and then I thought it was not good. So
Mm-hmm.
I wrote 6 other versions. And then came back to the first one. I was like, oh, this is good. This is fine.
Yeah, the classic journey of oh, I've made a terrible thing. Everyone
Yeah,
will hate
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then
I was like, oh,
just
cool. This is like my absolute dream, and everyone's going to hear it. And it's
yeah.
been like 5, 6 years since they put junior year out. This is going to be so sick. Let me give them absolute trash. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Everyone I admire and respect at D20 is going to hate me, and all of the fans
Yeah,
will too. I
exactly.
can't
I'm like,
wait.
I can't wait to
Yeah.
send them this song and then be like, actually, we changed our minds. We don't need music. This is going to
Yeah.
be awesome. It's
It's
like,
going to be a
great.
silent intro now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. As someone who has somehow conned his way into like the D20 space, that I have yet to like figure out, fully feel you, because
Yeah, exactly.
like, I don't know how I'm here either.
Same
Yeah,
energy, same
yeah.
page.
Yeah, I chatted with 3 other people who do like Dimension 20 interviews last night. And I was like, what is it like for you all, having like spent years building a brand, and then a clown just rolls in at the drop of a hat and like gets to do it too? And they
You're
were
just
very
like,
nice about it. But yeah,
hi, hello, I'm here now.
yeah, yeah. The song is great. The music video is also fantastic.
Thank you.
I Carlos was live last Saturday, I think, and giving just like the best advice. Carlos is such a
Incredible.
good troll that I forget how smart he is, because like his trolling is so next level that then when he's like, "Here's actual career advice," I'm like, "This is like the best career advice I've ever heard." But he was talking about the music video. He was like, Jordan, did anyone like find all of the Easter eggs? Because he had said there were 5. And so I listed off the 4 I could remember, because it's been too much. I think
Yeah,
we had found all of them. But I was like, I don't remember what, but the one he didn't think people would get, I think I know because of you, which was Esaf in the front seat. What was making that music video like? Like what?
Making the music video truly was the coolest thing I've ever done. It's really, really cool. I've made many a music video in my life thus far, and all of them have been kind of like, at the most, we've had maybe like 5 people on set. It's usually me and whoever's filming it and like my manager, and that's it. So I usually have like a very small setup, and obviously budget is very difficult when you're an independent artist. So my budgets are quite small. So when they got the song, they were like, hey, like it feels like a waste to only like just promote 60 seconds of the song. Like, do you want to make a music video with us? We would love to like do something. And I'm like, huh? Why are you even
Yeah.
asking me? Just tell me what you want and I'll do
Yeah.
it.
What time do you need me there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just like consult really quick. Yeah, that's fine. It was truly the coolest thing in the world. We kind of got on a Zoom call and chatted about like what ideas. Originally, the concept for the music video was just going to be in the dome. Fully just kind of a performance thing. And then I think somebody on my team was like, it would be really interesting to have another piece to this puzzle so that it feels like we're kind of giving some sort of storytelling with it. And I think once that was kind of opened up and they were like, oh, cool, you want to like do like some story here. It was just absolute chaos. Carlos was like, should we get a van? And I was like, I can't get a van. I don't know how you're going to get a van, but like, if you can do that, he's like, we should have a van and then stick a ray gun on top. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but like, sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so we kind of went over, they kind of gave me a rough breakdown of what they thought the music video would look like and wanted my thoughts on it. And we went with styling, who was absolutely incredible. Elkie crushed it. We kind of did a bunch of fittings and stuff. And then we came to shoot for the first time. This was my first time, as a fan on D20 set and like seeing where literally every show that I watched, like I was pre-gaming junior year with sophomore year the night before. So I was like, oh my God, I literally just saw somebody here in this room. Or, oh, I'll see a photo from like a behind the scenes. And I'm like, I know where that is. That's so crazy. So that I think was really cool, just to be on set and see what it looks like from behind the scenes. It's always been something that I really enjoy, is seeing how things are made and how things work. And then just doing the whole music video, it was crazy. It was the biggest group of people that I've had on a set. I don't even know how many people were there. There was probably like 30, 40, like there were so many people. And everyone was just like so kind. It's this industry, whether it's music or entertainment, it really is hard to come by one person who is just intentionally kind and like nice because they want to be and not because they have to be. And I think it really says a lot about the company as a whole when you can walk into a room with like 100 people and everyone is so welcoming, so kind, not just to me, but listening to them talk to each other. It's just like really intentional, from people who are filming to people who are like helping set up lunch or like cleaning the bathroom. Like everyone is so kind. And I think intentional kindness is something that is very difficult to find, but takes very little. And so it really was like playing. Like I got to play for like 8 hours, which is like so much fun. I got to sit on top of a van. I mean, the set design was absolutely insane. Like it was just like the craziest thing of my life was doing that, and then getting to go in and do it in the dome and like seeing the lights and like enjoying that kind of process, being able to kind of rock out with it, changing the makeup and the hair and just like having it a new experience. It was just like the craziest thing ever. And I like called my mom afterwards and I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like I had a moment where I was in the dome and I was like, if I cry now, it'll ruin the makeup. So I definitely have to wait till I get home. But I was just like, wow, this is such a like, I was watching this show in my bedroom last night. And when I found this show for the first time, I was in it was during COVID, and I was in such a dark mental space. And I really I was dealing with anxiety and medication the same time that Adine was dealing with that. And like really found a home and found family within this community. So to be able to like go from that space to being on the set, like making something that I really care about with people that I really care about, to give to people that I really care about, it was just like a full 360. Like if I die tomorrow, I can die content,
Fun journey fact, I suppose. Not the band. Siobhan, also not medicated, went on the same journey that now is, but like went on the same journey that Adine went on.
I literally just watched that video this morning.
Yeah, with Rowan. Rowan was one of the people I talked to last night. She's so good. It's ridiculous. Makes me so angry. She's so talented, and it makes me so angry.
Such a great interviewer.
I talked to Kevin Stiller a few weeks ago, and I know like he had shared some of the behind the scenes as well of like Derek Christensen setting up like the lights of the dome, and they were like, look, in theory this should work, let's find out if it does. We've never tried to make the dome do this before, which is so fun.
That was the crazy thing, is I feel like as someone coming on for the first time, it really felt like they absolutely knew what they were doing 100%, which is so crazy. Like the way that Derek did those lights so casually too, so quiet. Hey, what's up? And absolutely ripping it on the lights. Kevin was absolutely incredible. Like, it's just like, I think it goes to show when you have people who are just super talented that you can do something on the fly and be like, I have no idea if this is going to work, but like we're gonna try it and see what happens. And when you put a bunch of like really talented creative brains in one room, it's chaos and then becomes really incredible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other things in this like really like hammers home like you talking about it that like Kevin and I talked about was that not only like obviously like well first of all that like corporations aren't our friends, but the people who are running Dropout seem to be good people. And so like there is that like distinction, but that like the PAs are being paid a good rate to be there, and also they've hired enough PAs that like one PA isn't doing everything. Like one PA can focus on like an individual task that like one person should be focusing on. And it's that like intentionality of like we're gonna make something and we're gonna do it right. It feels so good to support a company that is doing that.
It really does. I think also just like giving people the space to be like, okay, I'm going to set this up for you so that you can do the best version of what you do well. And then have that trickle down from everywhere, you know, like if you're setting up the food table, it's like, how do I help you set that up in the best possible way where you feel like you're feeling productive and also not like you're overworked or you're doing 12 different jobs, but only being paid for one. Like, you know, I think that is such a real thing in a lot of companies that, you know, seeing people be like, you know, oh, my job is this and this is what I'm doing. And I do it really well because this person is doing this and they're doing that really well. I think is just a great, like, I don't fully like run a whole company, but like, you know, it's nice to see. And I think also like, there's just something about seeing a bunch of people who want to be at work, you know? You know, it's very rare that you have people, even if you are overworked or you're tired, it's like everyone working there wants to be there and enjoys doing what they do. And I think that comes through in every single essence of what Dropout is and does. It's like, it's not lost on me that like I can tweet the CEO of the company and check in and see how he's doing and he'll respond. I think that is just something that does not happen at all.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just like every time I talk to someone and they're like, no, it's a good place. I'm like, oh, thank God, because I've built my entire brand on it. I don't know what will happen if it crumbles.
I need you guys to stay together.
Like the only reason Abria Iyengar talks to me is because Dropout exists. Like you have to stay there.
You have to. For my own sanity and mental health, you absolutely have to.
Yes, exactly. It's really funny you mentioned, well, first of all, the music video, and I don't know if it is the same parking lot that Escape the Green Room, You Will Be Remembered, like camera person was in, but I'm just going to believe that it is because it makes me happy.
I would assume it is, but I also have no idea.
But it was super fun. So the solar lasso, I know you said like, they were like, what if we put a ray gun on top of it? For me, the joy was I had already seen the first episode when the music video dropped. Because as press, and that's a loose term, they send me early screeners. I don't know what, this is not a complaint. I haven't gotten early screeners for a couple of weeks. No one has. I think they're just like, I don't know why, and it doesn't matter. But I did for the first episode, and so like when I saw the solar lasso, I was like, oh, that's so cool that they like included it. And then I saw you posting about like, I haven't seen the episode yet, and I was like, I know something that the person who made the music video doesn't. That's mind blowing.
Holy, I had they were like, there's like a ray gun thing. And that's what it was called too. It was a ray gun. So it was like Sarah shooting a ray gun. They showed me the mini version of it and the maxi, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like slay Rick Perry, we love to see it. And they were like, there's like a scene in like the first episode where they built a ray gun and it's like on the top of the span shooting a thing. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, whatever, D20, that checks out to me. I was like, okay. And like, they were like, like Gorga has to like fix it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Great. but I didn't like think anything of it. I was like, I mean, it's kind of weird. I was expecting when I watched the first episode that like the whole episode was leading up to them building a ray gun. Like,
Right.
we're going to do a whole thing. It's like we're junior year. We're going to build a ray gun and we have to go on a quest to like fight something. And it's probably the Night York. But I have learned very early on that like anytime I think I know what the case is, especially when DM is Brennan, whatever I think is actually the case somehow is, but also isn't. So like, yes, they were fighting the Night York, but he's not the big bad. So I'm like, okay, got
Right.
it. So I was very surprised when I watched the first episode and it was full blown combat that I was like, oh my, like Esaf, I did not even realize was an Easter egg until I watched the first episode. I was like, oh yeah, the mirror, that's an Easter egg for sure, and was not processing like for what. I think I was just so hyped to be like, oh,
Right.
like I'm in a band and like there's like stuff and like these like slips of paper have my name on it. Like that's so cool that I didn't think about it. And then we were watching the first episode and I was like, oh my God, the mirror. Oh my God, the mirror. That's what it's for. So I was still figuring things out as I was watching the first episode. So it was kind of fun for me as well to really somehow be so involved and yet also have the full experience of a fan of not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, that's so much fun. How much green makeup was Carlos wearing that day? Just the arm?
Actually, it's just the hand.
Okay.
He literally was doing full blown like directing and producing that day. And then we literally were about to wrap and they're like, great, get Carlos in the chair. I was getting my makeup touched up and he was getting his hand painted green. And literally we did a few shots with his hand and then he was like, okay, we're going to break for lunch. I got to clean this off and then we'll go finish the rest of the music video. I was like, all right, bet.
That's delightful. I'm so happy Carlos is like a permanent fixture.
Incredible.
He's so kind and wonderful and all of the things.
It's also just really helpful too. I think him coming from a music background was really helpful in like making this music video and like doing those shots in the dome. He was really hands-on with all of the shots and like how they were kind of positioned and how they came out, and even with the music before I wrote the song, you know, giving me a list of songs and like sonically what he was thinking would make sense for this opening track. I think having that was so helpful, and it's like nice to be like, okay, like this is another musician, so I know that like if I send this and the whole team loves it, the one person who will be able to be like, hey, this is trash, you need to do better, would be him. So I was very glad when he enjoyed everything. So I was like, we're good.
Yeah. I can't imagine Carlos being like, hey, it's trash, do better.
That would be so funny, though.
Yeah, it would be very funny. Yeah, how did you feel about like hopping into junior year in media res as a fan? Did you also experience the Squeam backlash of what is happening?
Ironically enough, I listened to a D&D podcast called Dungeons and Daddies, who have done stuff with Brennan and Erica a few times. I actually found their podcast through watching their episodes. And so ironically enough, I had just listened to an episode of that podcast where they do that, where they like the first episode is like all of them and like this one guy that everyone's like geeked about. And I'm like, I literally had to pause it. I was like scrolling through Reddit for like 30 minutes being like, am I losing my mind? Who the hell is this guy? Like, I have no idea who this is. And I was so confused. And I was like, oh, get it. They're girl, like Gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss. That's what's happening right now. And so when they started in media res, I was like, okay, like this makes sense. And also really great way to start like a brand new year of chaos, and also kind of nice to skip the whole Night York thing. I wasn't like, I'm down for a big bad that I don't know about. I really love seeing it unfold, and I think it would have been a waste for them to fight the Night York, given that everybody kind of already knew what vibes were. That I expected to be a large manta ray, no. But what are you gonna do? It was super cool. But I think it took me a second where they were like introducing characters and me and my partner were sitting there like, who the fuck is Squeam?
Yeah.
Did they just build that? Oh, it must be just like somebody they built. And then like all of these new characters come in and I'm like, okay, something's not right here. I remember like literally being like, I know I'm being gaslit, but like I still gotta check. And I was literally like on Reddit, on Twitter, being like, all right, like what's going on? But it doesn't help that the whole community is like, oh, they're gaslighting us. It's important for us to continue gaslighting each other. And so I'm like, I'm going on there and I'm like, who is Squeam? And they're like, well, you don't know who Squeam is? That's literally embarrassing. And I'm like, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, no, it's weird that I would even ask that. Crazy. I love Squeam. 10 out of 10. Squeam is my life, my love. I watched the first episode with the producers who produced it. Aaron, who is a friend of mine, he plays D20. And he plays D&D with me. Matt really knows what D&D is, but has never played or really watched any of it. So he was cold watching Fantasy High in third season just to hear our song in the beginning. And I was like, okay, this could go really south if he doesn't like it. So he might be super bored or he might just not enjoy it. And then literally within the first like 5 seconds of Squeam being introduced, like they would like Squeam got hit and he's like, Squeam, not Squeam, that's my baby boy. And I'm like, okay, well, if you get anything out of this, just know that people love Squeam regardless if they like D&D.
That's so funny. The one like not nightmare, but like the one real big problem of watching the episode before everyone else was Googling Squeam Fantasy High and getting no results was so confusing.
You're like, I'm on an island by myself right now. This
I was
is
like,
awful.
I have no one to check in with. I can't like hop on a Discord and be like, what's happening?
What's happening? What is this? This is me calling my therapist being like, can you help me figure this out? I think I'm losing it.
But when there were zero results, I was like, that's not a thing the community would ever do.
Exactly.
Squeam. I'll tell you my big prediction for Squeam, since he's alive, is that he will walk back and the final battle at like a pivotal moment, he will enter the final battle and just get like instantly disintegrated. They'll all be like, Squeam is here, and then like Squeam will die, and that will be it.
I think Squeam will save everyone's life by dying for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like something Squeam would do. So heroic.
So heroic. We love to see it.
We love Squeam. Really running our entire campaign.
I love that very important people, one of the like Instagram accounts of the doll episode was posted by Into Squeam or whatever like his handle was.
It's so good.
Yeah, and so instantly the account was real, and I have no idea if it's run by someone from the show or a fan who just was like, no, it has to exist.
I don't even know anymore, but I'm here for it 1000%. Like seeing all of the artwork where Squeam was involved, like being like, oh, he's literally in the back of this photo. You literally didn't see it. Or like Carlos's video where I was like, this is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. So incredible.
Well, it's so good. Also, I had people after that video when they're like, is he trolling us? And I'm like, do you think there's a thing called the Lord of the Squeam? I'm so confused. How
have you guys not seen this movie? These are real movies.
There is no Squeam father. Like that's not.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately
for all of us, there is no Squeam father.
Someday.
Right now.
Once Dropout gets back into scripted content, then we'll start seeing the Squeam movies.
Fantasy High senior year is actually just the Squeam father. Checks out.
No, that makes sense. Do you have some favorite non-Fantasy High seasons?
I truly, I hate to be so annoying, but I truly do love all of them for different reasons.
That's fair.
Will say that I really liked Never After, just because I think it was a different setup. And Starstruck Odyssey was also really, really fun to watch. Took me a second, honestly, because the mechanics were different from regular D&D, where I was like, I had not played D&D, I think, when I watched it, so I was like, wait a minute. I just learned to understand D&D mechanics. You're going to change it? What class is this person? I don't understand. She's a robot? What's going on? I really enjoyed watching that. I will also say I have a love-hate relationship with The Crown of Candy because I think it truly is like an incredible season. But absolutely broke me in a way that I will never be able to put myself back together. I will not watch it ever again. But I cried so much in that season. I was fully weeping, where I was like, this is incredible, and like could have been a novel, like so good, and I will never watch it again. It put me through so much trauma. I was like, I can't do this. And then I will also say recently, the Burrow's End was honestly like some of the best. Obviously, everyone plays extremely well, and the acting and the improv is incredible in every season. But Burrow's End had a level of improv and acting that felt so just like a different level. Like I felt like I was watching a movie. It was truly like something I've never seen before. The Abria, as always, with the set designs and the game maps, it's absolutely incredible. And I'm such a fan of the way that she plays so interactively with her players that it's exciting for me to watch the players get excited about something at the table. So I feel like that one recently has become a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah. Abria and I are in a blood feud.
Love that. As you do.
So I'm going to try to figure out how to edit it so that it sounded like you said something negative about her instead.
Amazing. Great. Yeah. That'll do well. I've never met her, but I'm sure she'll like me. Right?
100% she will like you. I'll say, like, I did a production roundtable after Burrow's End, and my opening question was it was Rick Perry and everybody, and I was like, we're not because a lot of times you get that like final call on Zoom after the season. I was like, we're not getting it. Is it because Abria is too much of a coward to face you after what she made you build? And she has not yet retaliated, but I know it's going to be brutal when it happens. Yeah, she favorited the video, so I know she's sitting on
you're in trouble.
She's waiting.
You're absolutely in trouble.
Yeah,
she's
last year
up.
Abria made 3 total TikToks, and 2 of them were dunking on me. So like that is what my life is.
Damn. You're getting Abria fully. The fact that she's coming on the internet.
Yeah.
She's using her TikTok time for you, kind of incredible.
To yell at me. Yeah.
Kind of incredible.
An honor. Yeah.
That's a VIP right there.
Yeah. She has threatened to kill me. And she will be able to. Yeah.
Yeah. And she will. And
she was
that's
a
fine.
full college athlete. I will not survive.
That's fine. It's been really nice knowing you.
Thank you. Yeah. I see Galir behind you.
I do. I have a baby Galir.
I love it so much. Shout out to the new social media manager who posted the video of like, why isn't he texting you? And then stitched it with Galir talking about being in the hospital. Just like, drop out, you hired the right person.
They just slay it every time. Galir is such a beautiful, beautiful, he's the chosen one.
Yeah. How you feeling about Galir's newfound luck and Fig's seemingly Galir's old luck?
I feel like I knew from the second it was like, oh, it curdles in your stomach and tastes like lemon. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a Galir. And then Galir was like doing fine. And I was like, that can't be right. Just the more and more I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I think it makes sense. I'm really curious to see how it plays into Fig's character and kind of her like personality as a human. I like really enjoy looking at the like human aspects of all of the characters and kind of seeing how their traumas and their like difficulties have shaped them and are continuing to shape them both in positive and negative ways. So I think the fact that she has such a deep connection to, technically it's not been absolutely said, but it's absolutely clear, such a deep connection to Galir, who's somebody that she really had no interest in season 1 and has come to like really deeply care about, to the point where she's like, yeah, he's the chosen one, and if you kill him, you die. I think is so beautiful, but also I'm curious to see if it changes her relationship with him moving forward.
Yeah, she has now lived in his shoes. So it feels like more respect is going to be coming his way.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting like the full blown like dad stamp of approval. She's like, you know what? You got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, the dad who stepped up. It's Galir. Just a delight.
The sweetest boy.
Yeah. Obviously like Emily Axford PC's favorite all the way down. But how about other than Galir, some favorite NPCs for you?
Um, I
Doesn't
have
have
a
to be
thing
Fantasy
for I
High.
have a thing for like the freaky ones,
Mhm.
like Baron from the Baronese. I like deeply love
Yeah.
in the worst way. I don't know why. I think it's the accent. He's just so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I like
One of
hate him
my
so
one of my
much.
favorite videos is Brennan explaining the accent is take every Eastern European country, but do none of them. Just like
Exactly.
combine them all into one.
I just like Baron is just so fucking creepy and truly like so incredible. I love him. I also really love um Garthie O'Brien.
mhm.
They are incredible, and like as a raging bisexual, the chokehold that Gardy has on the community is insane.
Yeah.
So Gardy, 10 out of 10. I love Ida, big fan of Ida.
Mhm.
Trying to think of like outside of Fantasy High NPCs. The cricket, I think it was a cricket,
Yeah.
grasshopper from
Yeah.
Never After.
Yeah. Don't drink water.
Don't drink water. I firmly stand by that. Never do. I fully run on caffeine, so it's fine. I'm trying to think of other NPCs, but I feel like the ones from Fantasy High are a lot of the ones that like
Yeah.
stood out the most. Cassandra, who at this point is not even an NPC to me. She's a
Yeah.
full-blown main character.
Yeah.
I love Cassandra so much. She's like so fucking cute. I love her entirely. And also Kalina, she terrifies me.
Yeah.
I really like the ones that freak me out a little bit. Like I'm deeply uncomfortable by you, but somehow I'm like, hey, tell me more.
Yeah. No,
I'm
that makes
interested.
sense. It's also everyone you just named was a sophomore year NPC, which I love because I
Sophomore
like
year
sophomore
was
year
like
is so good. I love freshman year, but sophomore year, like sophomore year's in my top 3, easy. Like
freshman year like changed my life just by watching the
mhm.
first, just starting off my love for D&D and Fantasy High. But sophomore year, I love stories and books and like movies and tales that have to do with playing with people's like mental psyche and their view on themselves and playing with truths. Because I think a lot of the things within season 2 were like, Kalina playing off of very real fears that people had about themselves that they didn't want to look at, or like insecurities, or just like none of it. Kalina never was like, oh yeah, this is not a real thing. It's like, oh, here's something about you that I'm just going to pull on a little bit, and then you'll make it worse for me. And then I'll just sit here and just kind of pull stuff. And to me, like Never After was supposed to be kind of the scary horror season, but I really think season 2 of Fantasy High was terrifying, because there was so much on the line. And I think everyone was so young too. And I think realizing that you don't know yourself as much as you'd like to, and you also don't know your friends. And, do my friends know me the way I want them to know me? And also, if they don't, then we could all die. What am I doing? What is going on? I feel like I don't know what's going on. It was such a cool season and truly is my favorite thus far of the Fantasy High season. So I really love it. And the NPCs were just so strong season 2. We had so many
strong.
like big personalities. I loved it.
Like you didn't even mention Chunkle Down Bim and an all-timer.
We don't talk about Chunkle Down Bim, okay?
I love that Chunkle Down Bim and Baron are both just out in the world still.
I know. They're just thriving.
They're there. Yeah.
Best friends. They've got a book club.
Oh, I want a Spider-Man Sinister Six style of all their individual villains to come together for like be the main villain this season. I just want
absolutely love that.
I want Brennan doing all of them together.
That would be incredible. They should do a one-shot of just all of the like creepy villains in one room.
Yeah,
I would die for that.
It would be so good.
It would be so good.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like sophomore year was so special. I don't know if you listened to Worlds Beyond Number, the Brennan, Erica,
I just started it.
It's truly like maybe the best storytelling I've ever heard. But there was a recent episode where Brennan described something as like I think it was Brennan Anyway, you see like someone wearing the same, I think, jacket that you're wearing, and like you see it from behind, and you're like, is that how it looks on me? And like that's the thought of like, is that how my friends see me?
Exactly.
Like you see yourself like for the first time. And yeah, that very much feels like the sophomore year vibe.
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
junior year is just all anxiety all the time.
It's absolute chaos. Well, I think it's such an interesting way too to start junior year with the battle, because I think we really did. Sophomore year was spring break, which means that we went right into summer with fighting the Night Orb, and then we're in junior year, and it's like they haven't had time to process anything from freshman year, let alone sophomore year. Was like, hey, everything that you thought about yourself, get rid of it, because none of it's real. And all of this stuff, it's like there's no time to process traumas, and everyone's kind of dealing with how they process or don't process it at this point. I think they've got so much that it's like, okay, you either sit down and like look at all of this and unpack it, or you keep going and like fight through it in whatever way you fight through it. And I think watching all of them, you know, be tired, be like, feel lonely, feel like lost, while also having the stakes be like, hey, like it really does feel like them against the world, but in an interesting way where they kind of, even though they're a group and they're all really tight, we're kind of seeing their individual struggles, I think, more isolated than I think we saw in the first two seasons.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that is going to continue to build.
Continue to get worse.
Yes. So to close us out, Sarah, you're objectively cool. Is D&D cool now?
Thank you. I don't think of myself as cool at all. I think D&D is really cool.
Yes.
So maybe by default, if D&D is cool and I play D&D, then maybe I'm cool.
You're definitely cool. You're like a full-fledged rock star. So that's very cool.
Thank you. I try, you know, I play one on TV, but 90% of the time it's me in my pajamas watching D20 or reading a book. So
that's fair. It's honestly the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to have my Hannah Montana life of like, you know.
Yeah. Everything worked out for her, I think. I'm too old to know.
Well, I don't know. She won a Grammy, so I think she's doing all right.
Yeah. If the folks in some possible like mystical world don't know where they can find you online, where can they?
You can find me everywhere that there's a social media account. I am at Sarah Barrios on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, everywhere that there is a place where you can talk to people on the internet. I am there under Sarah Barrios.
Yeah, and people should go follow you, which I'm sure they already do, but because you're writing songs based on every episode, and it's an absolute goddamn delight.
Thank you.
We didn't even get to talk to it because there's so much other stuff.
It's so much fun, truly. Like when you have that much content to work with, it's very easy. The feelings and the themes coming through are very clear. So it makes a lot of sense. I totally get the feeling of being anxious and depressed.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm going to go eat lunch and take my antidepressant because I have to take it with food. So
exactly. I know that all too well. So
thank you so much, Sarah. This has been incredible. I can't wait to, hear the theme song 16 more times in the intro and then a million more times for the rest of the year. I'm excited to have one current song in my Spotify Wrapped at the end of next year. That's all I'm going for.
That was my goal with this the entire time. Perfect. I was like, how do I give Jordan a song? A current song. Jordan
a song that is not by a band whose most of the members are dead. Great.
So there you go. Very much alive.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm here for it. Thank you so much for having me and for chatting me.
This has been delightful. I'm going to hit stop recording because I have never figured out how to stop an interview.